Ever wondered how the world would look if the Cold War had tipped towards a full-blown conflict? This question is no stranger to the minds of those who have delved into the historical intricacies of the 20th century. The Cold War, a complex and tense period that spanned more than 4 decades from the mid-40s to the early 90s, is a testament to the power of restraint and diplomacy in the face of potential worldwide catastrophe. Two of the most powerful nations on Earth, the United States and the Soviet Union, stood toe-to-toe on the global stage. They were divided by ideology, capitalism versus communism, and driven by a desire to spread their respective systems worldwide. The standoff between these two superpowers was characterized by a frantic and competitive arms race, as each nation sought to outmatch the other in military might. The arms race was a dangerous game of one-upmanship. As both nations built up their arsenals, the world held its breath, hoping that the balance of power would not tip towards war. The sheer number of nuclear weapons amassed during this period was staggering, enough to destroy the world multiple times over. It was a chilling reminder of the potential for mutual destruction should a full-scale conflict break out. Yet despite the high stakes, the Cold War was not just about military might. It was also a time of intense fear and suspicion. People lived under the shadow of potential nuclear annihilation, not knowing if today would be the last. Espionage was rife, with spies and double agents weaving a complex web of deceit and intrigue. The Cold War, however, was far from a simple black-and-white narrative of two superpowers locked in an endless standoff. It was a multifaceted era, filled with mysterious events and enigmatic happenings that continue to puzzle historians and enthusiasts alike. The Cold War was a time of mystery and intrigue, filled with events that remain enigmatic to this day. Picture this: the world on the brink of nuclear war over a small island nation. The year is 1962 and our stage is set in the waters around Cuba. Two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, are locked in a dangerous game of chicken. At the heart of this crisis are two leaders, President John F. Kennedy of the United States and Premier Nikita Khrushchev of the Soviet Union. The stakes, nothing less than global nuclear war. The spark that lit the fuse was the discovery of Soviet missiles in Cuba. The United States, perched just 90 miles away, found itself suddenly within striking distance of these deadly weapons. Kennedy, under immense pressure, had to weigh his options carefully. A full-scale invasion could trigger a global conflict. Diplomacy, on the other hand, might not yield results quickly enough to eliminate the threat. So he chose a middle ground, a naval blockade. The U.S. Navy would prevent any further missile shipments to Cuba, effectively isolating the island nation. Over 13 nail-biting days in October, the world held its breath. Soviet ships, loaded with more missiles, were steaming towards the blockade. Would they turn back, or would they challenge the blockade, possibly igniting a war? Then, just as the situation seemed its most dire, a resolution appeared. Khrushchev sent a message to Kennedy, offering to remove the missiles in exchange for a promise that the U.S. would not invade Cuba. A secret deal was also struck, where the U.S. agreed to dismantle its own missile sites in Turkey. The crisis was averted, but not without leaving a deep impact on the world. It served as a chilling reminder of just how high the stakes were in this Cold War game of chicken. A tense standoff that ended in a secret deal, the Cuban Missile Crisis was a chilling demonstration of Cold War tensions. Imagine two superpowers, racing not for land or wealth, but for the stars. This was the essence of the space race, a pivotal chapter in the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union, the two behemoths of the 20th century, locked in a technological duel that would shape the course of human history. The starting gun for the space race was fired on October 4, 1957, when the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the first artificial satellite to orbit the Earth. This was a shock to the world, especially America, who had considered themselves the leaders in technology. The beeping radio signals from Sputnik, heard across the globe, were a stark reminder of the Soviets' capabilities, but the Soviets didn't stop there. On April 12, 1961, they sent the first human into space. Yuri Gagarin, a name that will forever be etched in the annals of history, orbited the Earth in Vostok 1, marking a monumental achievement for mankind. The world watched in awe as the boundaries of possibility were pushed further than ever before. However, the United States was not ready to concede defeat. Spurred by the spirit of competition and the desire to assert its own technological prowess, America responded with a mission of their own. On July 20, 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to walk on the moon, a feat broadcasted live to millions watching around the world. The words, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," echoed across the globe, marking a significant victory for the United States in the space race. The space race was more than just a competition. It was a testament to the human spirit, to the relentless pursuit of knowledge and progress. It led to numerous technological advancements, many of which we still benefit from today. The satellites that enable our global communication, the technology that powers our weather forecasts, and the knowledge we have about our universe, all these are legacies of the space race. In the quest for dominance, the space race pushed the boundaries of what humanity thought possible. What if a city was divided overnight, not by natural disaster but by ideological differences? Imagine waking up one morning to find your city split in half by a wall, your friends, family, and neighbors suddenly trapped on the other side. That was the reality for Berliners in August of 1961, when the Berlin Wall was erected almost overnight. The wall was a physical manifestation of the ideological divide that had gripped the world in the Cold War. On one side was the democratic West, led by the United States, on the other, the communist East, led by the Soviet Union, and Berlin, the capital of Germany, was right in the middle. The East German government, in an attempt to stem the tide of defectors to the West, ordered the construction of the wall. It was a hasty, brutal solution to a complex problem. Life around the wall was fraught with tension. Families were torn apart, friendships severed, lives upended. Many risked and tragically some even lost their lives trying to cross it. But the wall was more than just a physical barrier, it was a symbol of oppression, of division, and of the vast ideological chasm that had opened up between East and West. But walls, no matter how formidable, cannot stand forever. In November of 1989, amid mounting pressure and growing protests, the East German government announced that the wall would be opened. What followed was a cathartic outpouring of relief, joy, and unity as Berliners from both sides began to tear down the wall that had divided them for so long. The fall of the Berlin Wall was not just a demolition of concrete and steel, but a symbolic end to the Cold War. It marked the beginning of a new era of unity and freedom for the German people, a stark contrast to the division and oppression symbolized by the wall. The Berlin Wall, a stark symbol of division, stood as a grim reminder of the ideological chasm of the Cold War. But its fall reminds us that even the most formidable barriers can be overcome when people strive for freedom and unity. How would it feel to fight a war with no clear victor and no end in sight? This is the reality of the Korean War, a conflict that remains unresolved to this day. The Korean War, often referred to as the Forgotten War, began in the early summer of 1950. As World War II concluded, Korea was divided along the 38th parallel into two separate zones of influence. The North was under the Soviet Union's watchful eye, while the South was under the tutelage of the United States. The war erupted when North Korea, backed by Soviet equipment and advisors, made a surprise attack on South Korea. It was a bold move, a bid to reunify the peninsula under their communist ideology. But the stakes were high. The world watched with bated breath as the United Nations, led by the United States, rallied to South Korea's defense. In a world freshly scarred by the horrors of World War II, the Korean War was a stark reminder that peace was a distant dream. The United States and the Soviet Union, two superpowers, were using Korea as a battleground to assert their dominance, their ideologies clashing in a proxy war that would set the tone for much of the Cold War. 3 years of intense fighting, of cities captured and recaptured, of families torn apart, ended not with a peace treaty, but with an armistice in 1953. The fighting ceased, but the war was not officially concluded. Today, the Korean peninsula remains divided. The demilitarized zone stands as a stark reminder of a conflict frozen in time. The Korean War, often overshadowed by other events, is a testament to the pervasive influence of the Cold War. It's a conflict that, while forgotten by many, continues to shape the geopolitical landscape of our world. It's a stark reminder that the specter of the Cold War, while seemingly a relic of the past, continues to cast a long shadow over the present. The Cold War ended, but did all its mysteries get solved? In the aftermath of the Cold War, the world was forever changed. The political, social, and economic landscape had been irrevocably altered. Yet, even as the dust settled on this tumultuous chapter of our history, countless questions remained unanswered. The Cold War wasn't just a conflict between two superpowers. It was a complex web of secrets, espionage, and ideological battles. The events that transpired during those years have left a lasting imprint, the echoes of which can still be felt today. Take, for example, the ongoing debate surrounding the Cuban Missile Crisis. Some argue that we came perilously close to nuclear war, while others maintain that both sides were merely posturing. Similarly, the space race, often hailed as a testament to human achievement, has also been criticized for its militaristic undertones. Then there's the Berlin Wall, a symbol of division that has since been torn down, but the ideological divide it represented persists in many parts of the world. And let's not forget the Korean War, a conflict that technically has never officially ended. These are but a few of the lingering mysteries that continue to spark debate and research. They remind us of the enduring impact of the Cold War and the importance of historical study. By examining the past, we can glean insights into the present and perhaps the future. As the world navigates an increasingly complex geopolitical landscape, the lessons of the Cold War remain as relevant as ever. The era may have ended, but its influence is far from over. It serves as a stark reminder of the devastating potential of nuclear weapons, the dangers of ideological extremism, and the importance of diplomacy in resolving conflicts. But perhaps the most significant lesson is the understanding that history is not a static field of study. It is a living, breathing entity, constantly evolving as new information comes to light. As we delve into the past, we uncover more questions than answers, and so the mystery of the Cold War lives on,